also, in failing, in the failure is where you learn resilience. And the more you do it, the more you fail. Failure becomes kind of, you become desensitized to that feeling. So it doesn't stop you from doing it again. So in my book, I talk about this idea of this whole 10% target, which is making 10 attempts at whatever it is you want most. And the idea behind that is twofold. First, is you, like I said earlier, you putting yourself out there and making more than one attempt puts you so much further ahead of everyone else because most people don't even make any attempts. The second thing, it's teaching you and building your resilience, right? Because if you fail, right, once and you know you're going to fail, you got to get back up to try 9 more times. In that process, it becomes very, you become desensitized and it doesn't sting as much, right? With anything in life, right? Like the more you hear the word no, it doesn't bother you as much to kind of get no again, right? But it's
Mhm.
like the first time is always the hardest. It's the most shocking. It's the most difficult. Then eventually it becomes it becomes very much like part of the process. So that's why I believe that people need to work this 10% target to get comfortable with failure, to learn how to be more resilient, and to try to get the things that they really want. And that's the purpose of the book, really.
So why not good enough? Like, because you were in the book, you talk the story about when you were called average at best at school and how that lit this fire under you to prove everybody wrong and be this badass and, write the books and do all the amazing stuff you've done. How do we get people to find their own tipping point? Because a lot of people will sit and suffer a crappy job, will sit and suffer in a crappy relationship because it's not that painful enough yet. How do you motivate
Hmm.
that? Because I turned 40 recently, and you realize you're very, very close. You're the second half of your life, shall we say, the memento
Yeah, yeah,
mori.
yeah,
You
yeah.
realize you're going to die. How do you make people realize do it now, or you're suddenly going to live with regret? Because you mentioned in the book how rejection is much easier to recover from
Hmm.
than regret. That blew me. I
Yep.
love that. But how do we
Thank
make
you.
people realize you can't live in a pub? There's so
You
much.
can't. Well, you know what? You can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right?
Hmm.
People always ask me questions like, well, how do you find motivation? Or how do you get somebody to do A, B, or C, right? And the truth is, hard truth really is, I can't. If you, the person, you, the reader, aren't interested in doing it, there's only so much I can do to motivate you beyond a certain point, right? So everybody has their own reasons of why, number one. And number two, you know, there are people who are okay with living okay. And then this book isn't for you. And this life that I'm trying to help you build is not really geared to you, right? This is something that's geared to people who that have enough self awareness in what they're in their life to realize where they're not living fully, where they're not feeling satisfied, where they feel like the good enough, as we just said, is not good enough, and they're sick and tired of it, and they want to chase the life they actually want and not just take the life that they got.